married for 2 years but never shared a bed, until the billionaire finally held him close. Hey there, fiction of the Peace family. Before we dive into today's heart-touching story, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from in this big, beautiful world? And if you haven't joined our peaceful storytelling family yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and become part of a community that believes in love, hope, and the magic of stories. Now sit back, relax, and let's begin today's unforgettable journey. The small clock on the night table showed 2:47 a.m. Once again, Alara was lying all alone in the guest bedroom of the big mansion she lived in. It was a pretty house, but it never felt like her real home. Down the hall, behind thick walls, her husband of 2 years was sleeping in his own big room. They lived like strangers who only shared the same last name, the same house, and a paper that said they were married. But they didn't share a bed, didn't talk much, and there was no love between them. Alara pulled the soft silk blanket up to her chin and stared at the ceiling. The room was very beautiful. It had soft pastel colors and fancy furniture. One chair could probably buy food for a family for months. But to Alara, this room felt like a jail. Shiny and beautiful, but still a jail. For 730 nights, Alara had gone to bed wishing she had a real marriage. She wanted to fall asleep beside someone who loved her. She wanted to wake up in warm arms that held her tight. But instead, she had Adrian Bennett. Adrian Bennett was a rich man. He had made a lot of money in technology and built a huge company. His face was in magazines, and his name was always in rich people lists. But to Alara, he was just the quiet man who barely looked at her and only talked to her the same way he talked to the maids. He treated their marriage like it was part of his work, because that's exactly what it was. 2 years ago, Alara's family's restaurant was in big trouble. They owed lots of money, and her mom was very sick. Her dad didn't know what to do. That's when Adrian's people called with an idea. If he got married, it would help his business look better and stop some people from trying to take it away. And if Alara married him, he would give her family enough money to save the restaurant and pay for her mom's medicine. Everyone told her it was only for a little while. Just 2 years, just until the problems were fixed. But no one told her how lonely she would feel. Alara rolled over and pushed her face into her pillow. Sometimes she could hear Adrian moving in his room, the sound of his shower, or the soft click of his door when he left for work. But they never really talked. They only said polite things like, "Good morning," "Have a nice day," "Dinner is at 7 if you're home," "Thank you." The closest they had ever been was on their wedding day when he held her hand for a moment. Even then, he didn't look at her like she mattered. His eyes were far away, thinking about work stuff, not her. She wore her grandma's old wedding dress, and for just 10 minutes, she felt pretty. Then she saw Adrian checking his phone during their first dance. Their wedding party was big and fancy. Important business people came and smiled, but Alara knew they only cared about how this marriage would help Adrian's company. That night, Adrian showed her the guest room and told her they would sleep in different rooms to be comfortable and private. He was kind, but very serious. He said, "This is a business arrangement." Alara smiled and said, "I understand." Then she cried herself to sleep in her big, lonely room. Now, 2 years later, nothing had changed. Or maybe something had. Even though Alara had tried not to, she had fallen in love with her husband, not the famous Adrian Bennett from magazines. No, she loved the man she saw when he thought no one was watching, like when he spoke gently to the old housekeeper who was worried about her grandson, or when he paid for students to go to college without telling anyone, or how he kept a photo of his mom and dad hidden in his desk drawer like a secret. Alara loved that man, but that man didn't even know she loved him. The clock turned to 3 a.m. Alara gave up trying to sleep. She got out of bed and walked to the window. Outside, the garden looked perfect. Every flower was in the right place and all the bushes were trimmed, just like everything in Adrian's world, pretty and neat, but never wild or fun. She saw a light still on in his study downstairs. Her heart did that little happy jump it always did when she saw him. She knew he was working late again, probably drinking too much coffee and not eating dinner. Sometimes she made him a sandwich and left it outside his door, but only when she was sure he wouldn't catch her doing it. Alara pressed her forehead to the cold glass and made the same wish she made every night. She wished her fake marriage could become a real one. She wished Adrian would look at her like husbands look at their wives. She wished she could walk down the hallway, knock on his door, and be welcome inside. But wishes are for fairy tales, and Alara was living in real life. In real life, a beautiful black woman could marry a billionaire to help her family, and then sleep alone every night, dreaming of a love that was never going to happen. Tomorrow would be another day of quiet, small talk and pretending. Another day of living in the same house but not sharing their lives. Another day of being married to a man who had never tried to love her. And tomorrow night, Alara would be lying in the same bed, looking at the same ceiling, and wondering how much longer she could keep pretending her heart wasn't breaking a little more every day. She saw the light in his study go off and stepped back from the window. Soon, she would hear his soft footsteps in the hallway and the quiet click of his bedroom door closing. Then, silence. Silence between two people who were married in name only. Alara got back into bed and closed her eyes, but sleep still didn't come. When it finally did, she dreamed of warm hugs, real smiles, and a love that only lived in her dreams. She remembered the day it all started. It was a Tuesday morning, and a letter came in the mail. It had big red letters that said, "Final Notice." She stared at it across the breakfast table while her mom coughed and her dad tried to look brave. Their restaurant, Thompson's Soul Food Kitchen, was close to being taken away. Alara had grown up in that place. She did her homework at the tables and learned how to cook beside her grandma. But now they were 3 months behind on bills. Her mom's medicine was too expensive, and a new fast food place across the street had taken many customers. COVID had hurt them even more. They were drowning in money problems, and Alara couldn't fix it. That's when Adrian Bennett walked into their little restaurant. She was cleaning tables after lunch when the doorbell rang. A tall man in a fancy suit walked in, looking around like he was checking everything. His eyes were sharp, and he looked like someone very important. "Are you open?" he asked. "Always," Alara said, handing him a menu. "Table for one?" He nodded and sat down by the window. She saw that he sat facing the door and kept watching the restaurant, even while pretending to read. He ordered the catfish plate and sweet tea. "Good choice," Alara said. "Dad makes the best catfish in the city." "Your father owns this place?" he asked. 25 years next month, she said, feeling nervous. She had heard that tone before, from people who wanted to buy their restaurant. She went to the kitchen and told her dad, "There's a man out there in a suit asking questions." Her dad peeked through the window. "He's got the look." "What look?" she asked. "The look of someone who buys things." The man ate his food slowly, enjoying every bite. When Alara gave him the check, he left a $100 tip for a $25 meal. "The food was excellent," he said. "Tell the chef thank you." As he reached the door, he turned back. "Miss Thompson, may I speak to you in private?" Her dad came out of the kitchen, protective. "Anything you want to say to my daughter, you can say to me." The man smiled kindly. "Of course. I'm Adrian Bennett. I think we can help each other." That name hit Alara like lightning. Everyone knew Adrian Bennett, the rich tech man, the genius who built a huge company and was one of the richest bachelors in America. And now he was standing in their little restaurant looking at her like she was the answer to a big problem. "I have a plan," he said. "One that can fix your money troubles and help me with a business problem." Then he explained everything. He said his company was in trouble. People wanted to take it from him. And some said he was too wild and risky because he wasn't married. A wife would make him look more stable. I need a wife, he said calmly. Someone smart, kind, and willing to keep things private. In return, I'll pay your debts, help with your mom's medical bills, and give your family a monthly payment. It was more money than Alara had ever seen. She stared at him. You're asking me to marry you? I'm offering a fair deal, he said. We don't need to love each other. Just act polite. It will only be for 2 years. Her parents looked at each other quietly. Then her dad asked, what would this marriage be like? Separate rooms, separate lives, some public events together. After 2 years, a quiet divorce. Alara will get a nice payment and we go our own ways. Mrs. Bennett, that name sounded strange. Impossible. That night, Alara was lying in bed, wide awake. She kept thinking about her mom's tired face and her dad's big, worried sighs. On the kitchen counter at home, there was a scary letter saying they didn't pay their bills. Alara also thought about her big dream of opening her own restaurant someday. But that dream felt impossible now. Her family needed her help. She also thought about a man named Adrian Bennett. He had sad eyes when he talked about his parents. They had both died in a car crash when he was in college. Even though he looked very serious on the outside, Alara had seen a quiet sadness in him. 3 days later, Alara called the number on Adrian's business card. She said yes to something big. Their wedding was planned super fast, like a business deal. Her wedding dress fit perfectly after only one small change. The party was at the fanciest hotel in the city. The flowers were more expensive than a car. Everything looked perfect and beautiful, but it didn't feel like love. When Alara stood at the front of the church looking at Adrian's handsome face, she felt like she was in someone else's story. It didn't feel real. How could she be marrying a rich man she hardly knew? But it was the only way to save her family's restaurant. When Adrian took her hand to put on the ring, his fingers felt warm and strong. For just a little moment, Alara wondered if the way he gently touched her was real love. I promise to respect and support you, Adrian said clearly. I promise to stand by your side, Alara said. She meant every word, even though she knew Adrian wouldn't let her get close to his heart. They kissed. It was a short and polite kiss, just right for the cameras, but it made Alara feel really sad deep inside. That first night in the big mansion, Adrian showed Alara around. He told her when things happened and what parties she had to go to. She was standing in the guest bedroom doorway, and it hit her. She had married a man who wanted to keep her far away for the next 2 years. It was supposed to be a business deal, but somewhere along the way, Alara had hoped for more. She looked at Adrian now, 2 years later, and wondered if hoping for love was her biggest mistake. Every morning was the same. At exactly 6:15, Alara heard the water running in Adrian's bathroom. By 6:45, she could smell the fancy coffee he liked from Seattle. At 7, his car would drive away, and Alara would be alone in the big, quiet house until nighttime. At first, Alara tried to be friendly. She made breakfast early so they could eat together. But Adrian said no thanks. He liked to eat at work. She offered to pack his lunch, but he had business lunches already. She asked if they could eat dinner together on weekends, and he said maybe. But work always called him away. After being turned down so many times, Alara stopped trying. Now, 2 years later, Alara had her own routine. She woke up around 8. She had breakfast in the sunny kitchen that was bigger than her whole apartment back home. She read the news and looked at pictures on her tablet. She saw Adrian's name in the news all the time. He was famous in the business world. Most days, Alara went to her family's restaurant. Her marriage money had saved it. Business was great now. Her parents had hired more workers, made the menu bigger, and even started a small catering business. Her mom's cancer was gone, and her dad smiled more now. The deal worked well for everyone, except Alara. You look sad, baby girl, her mom said one afternoon while they cut vegetables for dinner. This marriage doesn't make you happy. Alara looked down at the onions she was cutting, happy the tears could be blamed on them. I'm fine, Mama. Don't lie to your mama. I see it in your eyes. You're lonely. It's what we agreed to. Adrian has his life. I have mine. That's not a marriage. That's a business deal. That's exactly what it is. Her mom put her knife down and looked straight at Alara. What's he like when you're alone together? We're never really alone. We live in the same house, but it feels like we're on different planets. Does he treat you badly? No, never. He's always nice, always polite. He just doesn't see me. I'm like a fancy chair to him. He takes care of it, but never talks to it. Have you tried talking to him? Alara laughed a little, but not happily. Talk about what? The weather? His work? My work? We've talked about all the safe things. Anything deeper would feel too real, like we're actually married. The truth was more complicated. Alara had tried small ways to connect. She made sure he always had his favorite coffee. She left snacks outside his study at night. She helped the housekeeper press his shirts just the way he liked. But Adrian never said thank you. He didn't even say he noticed. The snacks disappeared and the shirts were perfect. But he said nothing. It was like living with a ghost. The worst part was the parties. Once or twice a month, Adrian told her they had to go to a fancy event together. Alara wore pretty dresses he bought. They showed up looking like the perfect couple. And for a few hours, she could pretend they were real. Adrian was different at parties. Still quiet and serious, but he would place his hand gently on her back. He would listen to her talk and ask her questions. He would even laugh at her jokes. He danced with her when needed, holding her just enough to make it look real, but not enough to feel close. Those evenings were the hardest, because they showed her what life could be like, with love. Then they would go home. He would thank her politely, and they would go to separate bedrooms, like strangers. Lately, Alara had seen signs that Adrian was more than just cold and quiet. Last month, she saw him in his study, head in his hands, looking very tired and sad. She wanted to hug him, but she knew he would pull away. 2 weeks ago, she heard him on the phone with someone from his past. He was laughing. She had never heard that laugh before. It was so sweet. She stood in the hallway, just listening. And last week, she saw him in the garden at sunrise, drinking coffee and staring at the sky. He looked so lonely, it made her heart ache. There was a real person inside him, a man with feelings, hopes, and fears. But he kept those locked away from her. Alara often wondered if he felt just as lonely as she did. Did he ever wish things were different? Did he ever think about her when she wasn't in the room? She knew she wouldn't ask, and he wouldn't tell. They were trapped in a quiet life they had chosen. 2 people sharing a house, but not a heart. Maybe you should talk to him, her mom said gently. Maybe he's as lonely as you are. Alara shook her head. He's not lonely, Mama. He likes it this way. He gets what he wants, stability, without love or trouble. But even as she said it, she wasn't sure. Sometimes when she saw his eyes, she thought maybe, just maybe, he was longing for something more too. Then came the fancy invitation. It arrived 3 weeks ago. It was shiny and gold. It was for the big children's hospital gala, a super fancy party to raise money for sick kids. We need to go to this one, Adrian said, sliding the card across the counter as Alara ate her toast. Of course, she said without smiling. These events were always the same. Pretend to be a happy couple, ride home in silence, and go to bed alone. But this time felt different. Maybe it was the decorations, twinkling lights and sparkles everywhere. Maybe it was the hospital cause, something Adrian clearly cared about. Or maybe it was the way Adrian gently helped her out of the car and said softly, "You look beautiful." Alara was surprised. He was looking at her like he really saw her. She wore a deep green dress that made her brown eyes shine. She wanted to feel like she belonged in his world, even for one night. "Thank you." she said, blushing when he kept looking at her. Inside, rich and famous people were everywhere, sipping drinks and eating tiny snacks. But this time, something was different. People didn't just smile at Adrian politely. They seemed to really like him. "Adrian, I was hoping you'd come," said an older lady in a sparkly dress. "Mrs. Evelyn," Adrian said warmly. He looked truly happy to see her. She turned to Alara. "You must be Mrs. Bennet. I've heard so much about you." Alara was surprised. Mrs. Evelyn actually knew things about her. They talked about Alara's family restaurant and her mom's health. Mrs. Evelyn seemed to really care. As they walked around, Alara noticed that people knew Adrian as someone special, not just rich. A doctor talked about how Adrian gave money to buy machines. A nurse said he helped pay for school. A dad thanked him with tears for helping his little girl get better. And Adrian didn't brag. He always gave credit to others. He knew names, asked about kids, and cared about the hospital more than Alara ever knew. "How long have you helped this hospital?" Alara asked when they had a quiet moment. Adrian was very quiet for a long time. Alara thought maybe he wouldn't answer her question, but finally, he spoke. "It's been about 10 years, he said, "since I started making good money." "Why?" Alara asked softly. There was another long pause. "My mom was in the hospital a lot when I was a kid. She had cancer," Adrian said slowly. "The doctors and nurses worked so hard. They were so kind. But the hospital didn't have a lot. I told myself that if I ever got rich, I would help other families like mine." It was the most personal thing Adrian had ever told Alara. She felt something change between them. This wasn't the serious, quiet man she lived with. This was someone who had felt pain and chose to help others instead of being angry. "I'm sorry," Alara said gently. "I didn't know your mom died from cancer." "It was a long time ago," he said, "but that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt." He looked at her then, really looked. She saw surprise in his eyes, like he didn't expect her to understand. Or maybe he forgot that she could understand. "No," he said softly, "it still hurts." Just then a voice said dinner was ready. But something had changed. As they walked to their table, Adrian took her hand. He didn't do it to pretend or show off. It felt real and gentle. At the table were people who worked at the hospital and others who gave money to help. They talked about new things at the hospital and stories of kids getting better. Alara was surprised. She actually liked the talk, and Adrian looked more relaxed than she had ever seen him. "Your husband is amazing," a woman next to Alara said during dessert. "The children's wing at the hospital wouldn't be there without him." "He's pretty amazing," Alara said, and then she realized it was true. She was seeing a side of Adrian she didn't know. He cared. He wasn't just about money. He really wanted to help kids. When it was time to dance, Adrian took her to the dance floor. He didn't keep a space between them like he usually did. He pulled her close. One hand was at her waist, and the other held her hand over his heart. "Thank you for coming tonight," he said as they danced slowly to jazz music. "I know you don't always like these events. This one is different." "How come?" he asked. "You're different here," she said. "You seem more like yourself." He spun her in a circle and then gently pulled her close again. "Maybe that's because this cause matters to me," he said. "I can see that. The way people talk about you and how you know so much about the hospital. You don't just write checks, do you?" "I'm on the board. I visit the kids sometimes, especially around the holidays. I like to see how the money helps." Alara was quiet. She was thinking, "You never told me that. We don't talk much about what we do separately. Maybe we should?" Those words hung in the air. They didn't say more, but something was different now. As they danced, Alara felt something new. Hope. Maybe Adrian Bennett wasn't just a cold businessman. Maybe there was a kind, caring man inside. And maybe he was starting to see her as more than just someone to help his image. The evening ended too soon. As they drove home, Alara didn't want the feeling to go away. For a little while, they had felt like a real couple, talking, smiling, sharing something important. "The hospital's lucky to have you," she said as they reached their driveway. "I'm the lucky one. Helping those kids means everything." They walked to the front door together. Alara felt brave. "Maybe one day you can tell me more about your work at the hospital. I want to know what matters to you." Adrian paused with his hand on the door handle. For a moment, Alara thought he might really open up to her. "Maybe," he said finally, but his voice sounded polite again. "Good night, Alara." "Good night, Adrian." Alara walked up the stairs to her lonely bedroom, but she held on to the memory of Adrian holding her hand, the warmth in his eyes, and the feeling that maybe, just maybe, their marriage could become something more. The package came on a Thursday morning. Adrian was at work. A delivery person asked Alara to sign for it. She almost said no, thinking it was for business. But then she saw the return address. It was from a law firm in Boston, and it said personal and confidential. She put it on his desk in the study, but she was curious. Why would Adrian get personal legal papers at home? Usually, all business things went to his office or through his assistant. That evening, Adrian came home late. Alara was making a small dinner in the kitchen. She heard him go into the study. Then, nothing. It was very quiet, too quiet. 20 minutes passed, then 30. Alara started to worry. She tiptoed to the door and knocked gently. "Adrian? Are you okay?" She knocked again, louder. "Adrian? I'm fine," he said, but his voice sounded strange. "Are you sure? You're very quiet." Another pause. "Just business stuff." But Alara could tell it wasn't really business. She slowly opened the door. It wasn't locked. Adrian was sitting at his desk with his head in his hands. Papers and photos were spread out everywhere. Some looked very old. "Adrian," she said softly. He looked up, and Alara was shocked. He had tears in his eyes. The man who never showed emotion was crying. "I said I'm fine," he said again. But his voice broke. Alara stepped inside and closed the door behind her. "You're not fine. Please, Alara, just leave me alone." But she couldn't. Not when he looked so sad and hurt. She walked slowly to the desk, like she was trying not to scare a hurt animal. "What's wrong?" "Maybe I can help." He let out a bitter laugh. "You can't help with this. No one can." She looked at the papers. There were photos of a younger Adrian with his mom and dad, and there were legal papers too. "Is this about your parents?" she asked gently. Adrian couldn't hide his pain anymore. "The law firm was taking care of my parents' stuff after they died. There were things in a safety deposit box. I was supposed to get them when I turned 35. "What kind of things?" "Letters, photos, my mom's journal from when she was sick." His voice cracked again. "She wrote about me. How proud she was, how scared she was to leave me alone, how she hoped I would find love and happiness." Alara felt her heart ache for him. "Oh, Adrian. She said she saw me building walls around myself, even back then. She was afraid I'd be too scared to love anyone after losing them." He turned to face her. His eyes were full of pain. She was right. "You were young and hurt," Alara said gently. "It's normal to protect yourself. Is it normal to still do it 15 years later?" He picked up a photo. It showed young Adrian hugging his parents. They were happy. "Look at me. Look how open I was. I wanted to love and be loved. What happened to me?" Alara moved closer and looked at the photo. "He's still there," she whispered. "I've seen little pieces of him." "When?" At the hospital party. When you talk about the kids, when you smile at the staff, and sometimes when you don't know I'm watching." Adrian picked up a letter. "My mom wrote this for me. She knew she was dying. She wanted me to read it when I was older." "What did she say?" He was quiet for a long time. Then he began to read in a very soft voice. "My dearest Adrian, if you're reading this, maybe you're thinking about finding someone to love. I hope you found that person. I hope you haven't let fear stop you from opening your heart. Losing your dad and me will hurt, and you might want to hide from love. But life without love isn't really living. It's just existing." His voice broke. He couldn't keep reading. Alara had tears in her eyes too. She saw right through me, Adrian whispered. Even when she was dying, she knew what I'd become. It's not too late, Alara said. Isn't it? Look at what I've done, to me and to you. I married you and kept you away. I treated you like a business deal, not a wife. You deserved better. Adrian, no, let me finish. You've been kind and patient. You cook my favorite food. You iron my shirts just how I like them. You ask about my day and listen, even when I hardly talk. And what do? I hide in my study. I pretend you're not even there. Alara was surprised. She thought he didn't notice the little things she did. But he did. I thought it was easier, he said. If I didn't care, it wouldn't hurt when this ended. But it hurts anyway. Every day. What hurts? Living with you and not knowing you. Sharing a house but not a life. Being married to someone amazing and being too scared to try loving her. He looked into her eyes. She saw something new. Honesty, pain, and maybe hope. I think I've loved you for months, he said. Maybe longer, but I was too scared to say it. Alara's heart beat fast. After 2 years of feeling like strangers, he was telling her he loved her. I don't know how to do this, he said. I don't know how to be a real husband. I don't know how to let someone in without feeling scared, Alara said softly. I'm scared that if I love someone, I'll lose them. She walked slowly toward Adrian, one little step at a time, until she was close enough to touch his face. We can learn how to do this together, she whispered. What if I'm broken? Adrian asked. What if I built walls around myself for so long that I can't break them? Then we'll break those walls down, one brick at a time, Alara said gently. She used her thumb to wipe a tear from his cheek. Your mom was right, she continued. A life without love isn't really a life, but it's not too late for us. We can still make this work. For a moment they just stood there. Her hand was on his face. His eyes looked into hers, searching for something. She hoped he would find love in her eyes. Then, slowly and carefully, Adrian reached up and put his hand over hers. I'm scared, he said. So am I, Alara whispered. But what if we don't mess this up? And for the first time in their marriage, Adrian gave her a real smile. It was full of warmth and care, with no walls or distance between them. Would you like to have dinner together tomorrow night? He asked. A real dinner where we sit and talk like real people. I'd like that very much, Alara said, smiling. Maybe you can tell me about your dreams, the things you want to do, the things I should have asked about 2 years ago. Only if you tell me about your dreams too, she said. He nodded and then surprised her by giving her a gentle hug. She melted into his arms. For the first time, she felt like she really belonged there. Thank you, he whispered into her hair. For what? She asked. For not giving up on me. For not giving up on us. They stood there, holding each other in the quiet room, surrounded by pictures and letters that had helped Adrian open up. Alara felt something she hadn't felt in 2 years, hope. The weather had said it would only rain a little, but by Friday evening the storm was very big. The wind shook the windows, and the rain was falling so hard that you could hardly see outside. Alara stood at the kitchen window, watching the storm. She was worried. The power had gone out twice already, and the backup generator had turned on each time. But this kind of storm could knock out power lines and flood roads. Adrian should have been home by now. He usually came home by 6:30, but it was already past 7, and there was no sign of his car in the driveway. For the first time since they had that big talk 3 days ago, Alara was really worried about him. The dinner they had the night before had been wonderful. They sat at the table for 2 hours talking like new friends. Adrian told her stories about his childhood. He talked about how his parents had always believed in him and how they supported him, even when his ideas were wild. Alara told him about her dream to grow her family's restaurant and make her grandma's recipes even better. They talked until almost midnight. At bedtime, Adrian had paused at the stairs. Thank you for dinner, he said, and for listening. I can't remember the last time I enjoyed an evening so much. Neither can I, Alara said. For a moment, it looked like he might kiss her. He stepped closer and looked at her lips. Her heart started to beat fast, but then he stopped and gave her a soft smile. "Good night, Alara." "Good night, Adrian." She went to sleep feeling more hopeful than she had in years. And now, he was out there in the storm. She kept thinking about all the things that could go wrong. Her phone buzzed. She grabbed it quickly, hoping it was Adrian. But it was just a weather alert. It warned about flooding and told people not to travel unless they had to. She tried calling Adrian's cell phone. It went straight to voicemail. His office phone did the same. Her mind told her he was probably okay, just stuck at work or in a meeting. But her heart was scared. She cared about him now more than she had ever admitted before. At 8, she heard a car outside. She ran to the front door. Adrian came in, soaking wet. Even his umbrella hadn't helped. His nice suit was ruined. His hair was stuck to his head and he was shaking. "Oh my gosh, you're freezing!" Alara said as she rushed to help him take off his wet jacket. "What happened? I was so worried." Traffic was terrible. Half the roads were flooded. A tree fell across 5th Street. "I had to leave the car 6 blocks away and walk," he said, trying to sound like it was no big deal. But she could hear how tired he was. "You walked 6 blocks in this storm?" It was better than sleeping in the car. Alara felt a mix of feelings: relief, fear, and even a little anger. "You could have been hurt. You could have been hit by a branch or something." "Hey," he said gently, touching her arm. "I'm okay. I'm here." "No, you're not okay. You're cold and shaking," she said, already pulling him toward the stairs. "You need a hot shower before you get sick." "Alara, I'm fine." "No, you're not," she said, still bossy but caring. For the first time, she felt like a real wife, and it felt scary, but also good. 20 minutes later, Adrian came back downstairs in dry clothes. He looked warmer now. Alara had made him some hot tea and waited in the living room by the fire. "You didn't have to do all this," he said as he took the tea. "Yes, I did," she replied. She sat on the couch beside him, not too close, but close enough to check on him. "I was really scared something happened to you," she said. "You were?" he asked, surprised. "Of course I was. I know our marriage started like a business deal, but that doesn't mean I don't care." He looked into the fire and didn't say anything for a minute. "I don't remember the last time someone cared about me like that," he said quietly. "What do you mean?" "I mean, someone who cared just because they liked me. Not because of my money or job, just because they wanted me to be safe." Alara felt sad hearing that. "That's what people do when they care about someone," she said softly. "Is that what this is?" he asked. "Caring?" Alara looked at him. He was strong and smart, but he looked lost when it came to feelings. "Yes, Adrian," she said. "I care about you. Maybe more than I should, but I do." Suddenly, lightning lit up the room and thunder followed. The lights went out. Only the fireplace lit the room now. "So much for the generator," Adrian said, but he didn't sound mad. He almost sounded happy. "I'll get some candles," Alara said, standing up. "Don't." "Not yet," he said, gently holding her arm. "This is nice. Just the firelight." She sat back down beside him. It felt cozy and close, like the storm had wrapped them up together in a little safe bubble. "I need to say sorry," Adrian said softly. "For what?" "For the last 2 years, for not seeing you, for being scared to let you matter to me. I was so afraid to let you in that I pretended you didn't matter." "Adrian." "No, please let me say this." He turned to face her. His eyes looked dark and shiny in the firelight. "When I was walking through that storm, I thought about how sad I'd be if I didn't make it home. If I never told you how I really feel." Alara's heart started to beat faster. "How do you really feel?" "Scared, confused, like a teenager trying to ask someone to prom," he said with a little laugh, "but also hopeful. For the first time, I'm hopeful about something that isn't money or work." "What are you hopeful about?" "That maybe we could be real, not just pretend." Lightning flashed again, and in that moment, Alara saw something in his face. Care, love, and hope. "I'd like that too." she whispered. Really? Even if I'm not very good at this? Even if I mess up sometimes? We'll figure it out together. He reached for her hand and held it, just like he did at the charity party. But this time, it was real. No one was watching. I don't want to sleep in separate rooms anymore, he said. I want a real marriage, if you're willing to take the chance. What kind of chance? The chance that I might be worth loving, that this might actually work. Alara leaned closer. She could see little gold sparkles in his dark eyes. She felt his warmth. I think you're worth the risk, she said softly. Then he kissed her. It wasn't like the kiss at their wedding. It was a real kiss, sweet and slow at first, then deeper. It was the kiss she had waited for 2 years. When they stopped, both breathing fast, Adrian rested his forehead on hers. I love you, he said. It was quiet, but it meant everything. I think I've loved you for a long time, he added, but I was too scared to say it. I love you too, she whispered, and suddenly she felt safe and happy inside. I've been in love with you for months, she said, just waiting for you to let me in. The storm still raged outside, but inside it was quiet and peaceful. They held each other, not as strangers, not as business partners, but as real husband and wife. The next morning, the sun came out and the air felt fresh and clean. Everything looked new and perfect. Alara woke up on the living room couch. Adrian's arm was around her and his jacket covered them like a blanket. They had fallen asleep after talking for hours, talking like they should have from the beginning. For a few minutes, she stayed still and enjoyed the feeling of being close to him. He had told her he loved her. That meant everything. But now what? They had kissed. They had talked. They had shared their hearts. But what would that mean when they got up and started a new day? Next to her, Adrian moved a little. She looked around and saw Adrian beside her. For a second, she thought he might pull away and act cold like he used to. But he didn't. Instead, he hugged her tighter and kissed the top of her head. Good morning, Adrian said softly. His voice still sounded sleepy. Good morning, Alara replied. She looked up at him. Was he sorry? Did he want to take back what happened the night before? But no. Adrian looked at her with warm eyes, just like he did last night. There were no walls between them anymore. How did you sleep? He asked. Better than I have in years, Alara smiled. You? He sat up and ran his hand through his hair. I should go check if the storm damaged my car. Hopefully it's still where I left it. Alara felt a little sad. Was he already going back to only talking about boring things? Was he going back to being distant again? But then he smiled, just for her, and said, Do you want to come with me? Maybe we can get breakfast if any cafes are open. I'd like that, Alara said, happy again. They found his car with just a few small branches on it. No big damage. The city was waking up after the storm. People were cleaning up fallen trees and fixing things. It felt like the world was starting fresh. They found a little cafe that was open. They stayed there for 2 hours, eating pancakes and talking. Adrian told Alara about how he started his first business in his college room. He used borrowed tools and never gave up. Alara told him how her grandma taught her to cook and how food can bring people together. I didn't know you loved cooking so much, Adrian said, watching her happily. There's a lot you don't know about me yet. I want to learn everything, he said. That made Alara feel warm inside. She wanted someone who truly knew her, not just the girl in a fake marriage. When they got home, Adrian surprised her. Let's spend the day together. No work, just us. Alara smiled. That sounded perfect. They walked around the garden. Adrian showed her a bench he liked to sit on in the morning. He showed her a fountain that reminded him of his childhood. Alara showed him the little herb garden she had planted near the kitchen. She didn't think he had noticed. I did notice, he said. I notice everything about you. I just didn't let myself admit it before. They had lunch on the terrace, then dinner too. They just wanted to stay together as long as they could. Later, they sat in the living room again. The fire wasn't needed this time. It was just cozy and calm. I feel like I'm dreaming, Alara whispered, and I don't want to wake up. I don't want to wake up either, Adrian said, looking into her eyes. Adrian, Alara asked softly. What happens now? With us? Do we tear up our contract? Do we start over? What do we tell people? Adrian was quiet. He traced little shapes on her arm. I don't know, he said. I just know I don't want to go back to how things were. Me neither. Maybe we don't need to decide everything now. Maybe we can just take it one day at a time. She smiled, but she noticed something in his voice. A small fear. Are you having second thoughts? She asked. He sighed. No, yes, maybe. He sat up straight and moved a little away from her. I'm scared, Alara. Last night felt perfect, but now I keep thinking, what if it all goes wrong? What if we ruin our friendship? What if I hurt you? What if I'm just a man who doesn't know how to love? Yet Alara's heart broke, but she also felt a little frustrated. What if it goes right? She said. What if we're perfect for each other? What if we've been given a second chance? I don't want to be scared anymore, he said, but his body looked like it was scared, like he was pulling away again. Then don't be. Alara reached for his hand, but he gently pulled it away. It's not that simple. It could be. Could it? My parents had the perfect love. Then a drunk driver took them away. Everything they built, gone. So you're afraid to love because it might be taken away? I don't know, he said, looking more distant. Maybe that's exactly what I'm doing. Alara felt tears in her heart. Adrian, please don't do this. Don't shut me out again. I'm not shutting you out. I need time. Time to think, or time to put your walls back up? He stood up and walked to the window. Maybe both. Last night, you said you loved me. I do. Then why are you running away? Because loving you is the scariest thing ever, he said. If I lose you, it would break me. I don't know if I can take that risk. You won't lose me. How can you promise that? She got up and moved closer. I can't promise forever. No one can. But I can promise I'm here now. I want to be here. I'm willing to take the risk because I love you. For a second, it looked like he might believe her. He took one small step toward her. But then he stepped back. I think we should slow down, he said. Maybe last night was too fast. Maybe we got caught in the storm. You don't mean that, she said. I think I do. It felt like he slapped her heart. Fine, she said bravely. If that's what you want, it's what's smart. Since when is love about being smart? He didn't answer. The silence between them felt heavy. Alara turned toward the stairs. I'm going to bed. In my room, alone, just like always. Alara? No, Adrian, you made your choice. You're choosing fear over love. I can't make that choice for you. She went upstairs. Each step felt like walking into a sad prison again. They had come so close to something beautiful, but almost wasn't enough. 3 days passed. Adrian barely talked to her. He went to work early, came back late. When they did see each other, he was polite, but cold. Alara worked harder at the restaurant. She didn't want to think about the pain in her heart. Her parents noticed something was wrong, but didn't ask. How could she explain that her fake marriage almost became real, but then broke again because Adrian got scared? On Thursday, she came home and saw a note on the kitchen counter. It said, "Business dinner tonight. Don't wait up." She crushed the note and threw it away, then felt silly. This was their life. She had been foolish to think one stormy night could change everything. On Friday, there was another note. Having a business meeting tonight. Please stay in your room or go out. The words felt cold, like she wasn't even part of the house. She decided to go to her parents' restaurant again. She didn't want to hide in her room like a child. Around 7 o'clock, she remembered she forgot her purse. Adrian's meeting was supposed to be in his office, so she thought she could sneak in, grab her purse, and leave. But when she walked up to the house, she saw the living room lights on. Not the study. And she heard laughter, happy laughter. That didn't sound like a business meeting. She walked closer to the window. What she saw made her heart freeze. Adrian was on the couch with a pretty blonde woman in a fancy dress. They were sitting very close. The woman had her hand on his arm. Then she leaned in and whispered something. Adrian smiled. The same smile Alara thought was only for her. Then the woman kissed his cheek. Her lips stayed there a little too long. Alara couldn't breathe. Was this the real reason Adrian had pulled away? Was this why he was scared of love? She walked back to her car, feeling like her heart had been broken in half. She didn't know how she got to her parents' place. She had tears and couldn't think straight. Her mom saw her face and pulled her into the office. "What happened, baby?" "I think Adrian is having an affair." The words sounded strange. This marriage was fake, but her heart felt real. "Why do you think that?" Alara told her mom everything she saw. With every word, it felt more real. Adrian had someone else, someone he chose over her. "Did you talk to him?" "How can I? I don't even know if I have the right. Our marriage is fake, remember?" Her mom hugged her. "Feelings don't care about contracts. If you love him, it's okay to be hurt. But do I have the right? We agreed to separate lives. Maybe this is what he meant." Alara's mom sat beside her and gently held her hands. "What does your heart say, sweetie?" she asked. "My heart says that what happened the other night between me and Adrian was real," Alara said quietly. "That when he said he loved me, he really meant it. But my head says I'm being silly. That men like Adrian, who are rich and busy, don't fall in love with girls like me. They just marry for business reasons." "Which one are you going to listen to?" her mom asked softly. Alara didn't know. She didn't answer. Instead, she stayed at the family restaurant all night, helping serve food and clean up. She tried to forget about everything by staying busy. But even with all the yummy smells, loud talking, and smiles around her, she kept thinking about Adrian, and that woman who had her hand on his arm like they were close. When Alara finally drove home after midnight, Adrian's car was in the driveway. The house was dark except for the security lights. She tiptoed inside and went upstairs. As she walked past Adrian's bedroom, she heard him talking on the phone. His voice was soft and kind, and it made Alara's tummy twist. "I had a wonderful time tonight," Adrian said. "Thank you for being so understanding." Alara didn't wait to hear more. She ran to her room and closed the door behind her. She leaned against it, feeling like her heart was breaking. She had believed, just for one night, that maybe they could fall in love, that their pretend marriage could become something real. But now it felt like she had been dreaming while Adrian was living in the real world. In the real world, a man like Adrian could choose any woman, and it looked like he had. The next morning, Alara's eyes were red from crying, but her mind felt clearer. She couldn't keep living like this, halfway between being hopeful and being sad. Their agreement was only for 2 years, and those 2 years were almost up. Maybe it was time to plan for the end. She spent the day looking for a divorce lawyer and searching for apartments. She even dreamed a little about opening her own restaurant. The money from the marriage deal would help her start over. But every time she tried to imagine life without Adrian, she felt like something was being ripped out of her heart. Even the version of Adrian who didn't love her. That evening, she heard him come home like usual. She knew he was probably wondering where she was. But she didn't care. Let him wonder. Let him see she was done pretending to be his convenient wife while he cared for someone else. Around 9 p.m., there was a soft knock on her door. "Alara? Are you okay?" "You missed dinner," Adrian said. She almost laughed. He was worried about dinner when he had spent the night before with another woman. "I'm fine," she answered. "Just tired." "Are you sure? You've been avoiding me lately." "Have I?" "I didn't notice," she replied coolly. There was a long pause. She could imagine him standing outside her door, confused. "Can I come in? I thought we could talk." "Talk about what?" "About us. About what happened the other night." "I think you've already shown me how you feel," she said. "Alara, please open the door." She almost opened it. She wanted answers, but what was the point? Even if he had a good excuse, he still backed away from her after they shared something special. I think we should go back to our original plan, she said. Separate lives, barely talking. It's what you wanted. It's not what I want, he said quietly. Then why have you been treating me like a stranger? She asked. There was silence. Then she heard him lean against the door. Because I was scared, because I'm dumb, because I didn't know how to do this the right way, he said. Well, you definitely messed up. I know, but I want to fix it. Some things can't be fixed, Adrian. What does that mean? It means maybe we should start thinking about the end of this marriage, she said. The hallway went very quiet. She wondered if he had walked away. Then she heard his voice, so soft she had to listen closely. Is that what you want? To end this? I want to be happy, and I can't be happy like this. It hurts to wait for little bits of love from someone who gives his real feelings to someone else. He took a sharp breath. Someone else? Alara. What do you mean? But Alara couldn't keep talking through the door like this. She had loved him, and he had broken her heart. Good night, Adrian. Alara, please. Good night. She waited until she heard his footsteps go down the hallway. Then she quietly locked her door. Tomorrow, she would start making real plans to leave. She would find a lawyer, find a place to live, and build a new life without all the pain of loving someone who didn't love her back. That night, she let herself be sad for what could have been, for the love she thought she had, and for Adrian, the man she loved who was too afraid to love her back. On Sunday morning, loud knocking woke her up. It wasn't gentle knocking like before. It was loud and fast, like something was wrong. Alara, please, I need to talk to you. It's important. She jumped out of bed, grabbed her robe, and opened the door. Adrian was standing there, wearing the same clothes from yesterday. His hair was messy and his eyes looked scared. What's wrong? Is someone hurt? She asked. No, no one is hurt. But I figured it out. I know why you think there's someone else. I need to explain before you do something we'll both regret. Adrian, I don't want to hear it. You saw Sienna Friday night, didn't you? In the living room with me? Alara's heart hurt, but she tried to sound calm. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. And I don't blame you for thinking the worst. But you're wrong. You're completely wrong. Just give me 5 minutes. There's nothing to explain. You're allowed to see other people. Our marriage isn't real, remember? Stop saying that, he shouted so loudly that Alara stepped back. This marriage is real to me. What I feel for you is real. That night with you was the most real thing I've felt in years. Then why did you pull away? Because I'm a coward. Because I got scared. Because I love you so much and I didn't want to mess it up. He ran a hand through his messy hair. Sienna is my business partner. She's also my friend. She's going through a really bad divorce from someone who hurt her. That night was supposed to be about work, but she started crying about her kids and I was trying to help her feel better. Alara looked at him, listening. She kissed my cheek because I offered to let her stay in the guest house while she figures things out. She wasn't being romantic. She was just thankful. He paused. If you had stayed 5 more minutes, you would have seen her ex's lawyer come to the house and give her papers. She broke down. That's what happened. The world felt like it was spinning for Alara. She had been so wrong. She's like a sister to me, Adrian said. Yes, I should have told you about her. Money, I should have explained. I should have known you'd worry. If I saw you comforting another man the way I did with Sienna, I would have gone crazy. You would? Are you kidding? I'm crazy about you. I'm so in love with you I can't think straight. The idea of you with someone else makes me want to scream. Tears filled Alara's eyes. She didn't know if she was sad or relieved. Then why did you pull away from me? She asked. Adrian looked down. Because loving you scares me. The last time I loved someone deeply, I lost them. I didn't want that to happen again. So you tried to lose me slowly instead? She asked softly. I guess I did, he whispered. tears in his own eyes. But I can't anymore. I can't pretend this is just a fake marriage. I want to tell you every day how much I love you. He stepped closer. I want to hold you at night and wake up next to you in the morning. I love how you hum when you cook. I love how kind you are. I love your laugh, your smile, your heart. He took her hands. I love the way you take care of me. I love that you make our house feel like home. And I love that even after all the mistakes I've made, you're still here. Alara felt her heart melt. I'm here because I love you too, you silly man, she said. I've loved you for months, and it's hurt so much watching you push me away. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for hurting you, for being scared, for not fighting for us. And what are you fighting for now? Mehdi, she asked. For us, he said. For our love, for a real marriage, not a contract. He held her hands tightly. I want us to share a room, to share our dreams, to live our life together, not as business partners, but as husband and wife. I want to show the world how much I love you. What about your fears? She asked. What if you get scared again? I realized something, he said. If I keep pushing you away, I'll lose you anyway. And if something bad happens later, at least we will have had real love. Alara looked in his eyes. She saw love, trust, and hope. I want that too, she whispered. But promise me something. Anything. Promise me you won't run away when you're scared. Promise you'll talk to me. I promise, Alara, he said. I'll never run away from this again. Then he kissed her. It was the kiss she had been waiting for, full of love and truth. She kissed him back, knowing that this time everything was going to be different. When they stopped, Adrian leaned his forehead on hers. Move into my room tonight, he whispered. I don't want to sleep apart from you ever again. Are you sure? She asked. I've never been more sure in my whole life, he said with a smile. Alara smiled. She felt happy and light, like a big weight was gone. Okay, she said, but I have one rule. Name it, Adrian said. We burn the contract, Alara said. The old marriage contract, the one that says this marriage is just business. I want it gone. Adrian smiled. It was a big, warm smile that made his whole face light up. Consider it done, he said. We'll make a new one. What kind of contract? Alara asked. One that says we are married because we love each other, he said. One that says we're a real team. One that says till death do us part, and we really mean it. He pulled her into his arms again. Alara felt like she was finally home. For 2 years, they lived like strangers in a big house, but now they were truly going to be husband and wife. And this time, Alara believed it with all her heart. She believed Adrian would stay. 6 months later, Alara woke up in Adrian's arms. They were in their bed, in their room, in their home. Everything felt different now. The morning light came through the curtains, making the room glow gold. She looked at Adrian's face, the man whose heartbeat helped her fall asleep every night. Good morning, Mrs. Bennett, Adrian said softly, his voice sleepy. Good morning, Mr. Bennett, Alara said, smiling and turning to look at him. Even after 6 months, she still felt excited waking up next to him. What time is it? She asked, looking at the clock. Almost 8, Adrian said. We have about an hour before we need to get ready. Today was a big day. The grand reopening of Thompson's Soul Food Kitchen. The restaurant had been closed for a month so it could be made bigger. Now it had more space and a special room for parties. Adrian had helped pay for the renovation, but it wasn't just about money. It meant their families were coming together. Are you nervous? Adrian asked, sitting up. A little, Alara said. Are you? I'm terrified, Adrian joked. What if your big family doesn't like me? What if I say the wrong thing? Alara laughed and gave him a kiss. You'll be fine, she said. They already love you. Remember when you got that food critic to review Dad's cooking? That was just business, Adrian said. No, Alara said. That was love. For me, for my family, and for what matters to me. She drew little shapes on his chest with her finger. She still couldn't believe she could be this close to him. Besides, she said, you already passed the most important test. What was that? Adrian asked. Faris, Mom's fried chicken test. Alara laughed. She says anyone who loves fried chicken as much as you do can't be a bad person. Adrian laughed loudly, and she felt it in his chest. That's high praise from a master chef, he said. They stayed quiet for a while, just hugging and listening to the house wake up. So much had changed since the night they stopped pretending their marriage was just for business. The house felt warmer and full of love. It was a real home now. They even decorated their room together. Alara liked rich colors and soft things. Adrian liked neat lines and fancy materials. Their room was now cozy and pretty, just like them. But the biggest change was how they talked. They really talked now. About their day, about their dreams and fears. Adrian told Alara all about his work and asked what she thought. Alara shared her dream of starting a catering business, bringing families together with food. I have something for you. Adrian said suddenly, reaching for the nightstand. It's not my birthday, Alara said. I don't need a birthday to give you gifts, Adrian said. He pulled out a small velvet box. Alara's heart skipped a beat. They were already married, but the box still made her feel excited. What is it? She asked. Open it and see, Adrian said. Inside was a ring, but not her old wedding ring. This one was new and beautiful. Her old ring was plain and simple. Adrian's assistant had picked it because it looked proper, but this new ring was rose gold. It had tiny diamonds that sparkled like stars. I want you to wear this instead, Adrian said seriously. I chose it for you. This one shows what we really mean to each other now. It's so beautiful, Alara whispered. Read the words inside, Adrian said. She looked inside the ring and saw the words, finally home. Tears came to her eyes. That's what you are to me, Adrian said softly. You make me feel like I'm finally home. He slipped the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. Adrian always noticed the little things about her now. I love you, Alara said. Saying it felt as natural as breathing. I love you too, Adrian said. More than I ever thought possible. They might have stayed in bed all morning, but they had to go to the restaurant. Alara showered. Adrian made coffee. They ate breakfast together like they always did. What time are Sienna and Nathan coming? Alara asked. Noon, Adrian said. They're bringing the kids, so they want to eat before the party. Sienna was Adrian's business partner. She and her new husband Nathan were now good friends. Sienna had won her court case and didn't have to worry about her ex-husband anymore. She had moved out of their guest house and into a new home with Nathan. He loved her and her children, and that made Alara and Adrian happy. I still can't believe I was wrong about her, Alara said. You had a right to be upset, Adrian said. If I saw you hugging another man, I would have thought the same thing. Would you have admitted you were wrong like I did? Alara asked. Probably not, Adrian laughed. I'd be too jealous to think straight. Good to know, Alara smiled. They got ready together. Alara loved their morning routine. She loved how Adrian picked his clothes so carefully. She loved how he always kissed her goodbye, even if they were going to the same place. Then she loved sharing a bathroom and closet with him. She loved sharing a life. In the car, they talked happily about the day. Adrian cared a lot about the restaurant now. He didn't just invest money. He cared about her family's dream and their community. When they arrived, the parking lot was full. People were walking in and out of the new entrance. The restaurant was twice as big now. It had a bar, a private room, and even a small stage. It was more than Alara's parents had ever hoped for. There they are, her mom called, hugging them both. My successful children, she said. Her dad came over, smiling big. His face used to be worried all the time, but now it was full of joy. Son, he said to Adrian. That word had come naturally over the months. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you for letting me be part of the family, Adrian said. The afternoon went by quickly. People said, congratulations, and ate the best food ever. Alara's dad had made amazing dishes, old ones and new ones. The food critic Adrian had invited was impressed. He took lots of notes and asked questions. But what Alara loved most was seeing both her families together. Adrian was chatting with her uncle about fishing. Sienna helped her mom serve dessert. Her teenage cousin was asking Nathan for advice on college. Happy? Adrian asked, handing her a glass of sweet tea. Incredibly, Alara said. Because I have one more surprise for you, Adrian said. Before Alara could ask, her dad got on stage with a microphone. Everyone, may I have your attention? He said. Alara looked at Adrian. He just smiled and held her hand. Her parents were on stage, smiling. Something special was about to happen. This restaurant has been in our family for 25 years, her dad said. It's our life's work, but tonight we're starting something new. He pointed to Alara and Adrian. We're proud to announce the opening of Thompson's Catering. Everyone clapped and cheered. It will be run by our daughter Alara and her husband Adrian, her dad continued. They'll bring the love and warmth of our food to your parties and special events. Alara was shocked. This was her dream. She looked at Adrian. How did you? We've been planning for months, Adrian whispered. The private room can be used for testing new food. There's a delivery van outside, and we already have our first 3 jobs: Sienna's wedding, the hospital party, and my company's holiday dinner. I can't believe you did all this, Alara said. I believe in you. I believe in us. I want to spend my life building dreams with you, Adrian said. As the crowd clapped and cheered and her parents smiled proudly, Alara felt like her heart would burst with joy. This was everything she ever wanted: love, family, a big dream, and a future full of hope. So, Adrian said, holding her close, ready to build something amazing together, Mrs. Bennett? With you? Alara said. I'm ready for anything, Mr. Bennett. And as he kissed her in front of everyone, Alara knew something for sure. Their fake marriage was over. Their real love story had just begun, and this time it would last forever.